Hey y'all, welcome to Odyssey's first Western saddling. This is a really exciting day for him. We started out with some lunging to get him warmed up, and then we did some flag desensitizing. So when I started out, I was doing the same kind of stuff that I've done in previous videos with him, where I'm getting him used to the flag, mostly at a standstill, sometimes yielding his hindquarters as I hold the flag on him. And what I was doing here was desensitizing while he's moving. The objective is for him to walk with the flag on him, but if he's a little nervous, that's okay if he trots. But the ultimate goal is for him to be able to walk calmly with the flag on him. And so we've done some of this before, so it's not totally unfamiliar to him, and he kind of grasps the concept. But it's pretty normal for them to be nervous and want to trot, or sometimes they'll want to stop and freeze up. And so that's the point of this exercise, is to find that nice balance where they're not freezing up and they're not exploding in fear, but they're calmly reacting to what's happening and they're processing and thinking through it. So that's the goal of this exercise. That's why I like to desensitize in motion a lot, because I can really get them processing as they're moving and thinking, instead of just freezing up and thinking that standing still is going to get the scary thing to go away. So you can see him processing, you can see him thinking, should I stop, should I run, what am I supposed to do? And I'm just encouraging him lightly to keep moving forward and removing the flag whenever he does so calmly. And so in the beginning, I'll kind of remove the flag if he trots forward, and then add the flag back in once he's trotting, and then he starts to realize the flag isn't a cue to stop, and he can start to become more comfortable with it. And the reason I decided to do this exercise was because he was pretty sensitive to the sound of the English saddle flapping on his back, as you saw. If you saw his English saddling video, the thing that got him, that really spooked him the most, was when the flaps started making noise on his back as he cantered. And so to prepare him for the noisy Western saddle as best as I could, I went and I did the tarp, and now I'm doing this. And so I think he'll be alright with the noise of the Western saddle after that work. So that's kind of the gist of that exercise. We did some more of that. We kept working on it, getting him more relaxed and more comfortable. And this is where we got to in this session. This isn't exactly an end result or anything, but this is a lot of progress from where we started. Introducing the Western saddle pad was just the same as the English saddle pad and the same as the tarp. It really isn't too different from an English saddle pad. It holds its shape a little better. It's a little bulkier. It's a little heavier. But it's pretty much the same thing, and he didn't really care too much about that. One thing I was being mindful of, however, was he started to seem like he was kind of thinking the moment something went on his back, he was going to have to move, and so he started swiveling around. And so here I took it off, put it back on, and I gave him some scratches to sort of break up that thought process in his mind that everything something goes on him, he's going to have to move right away. So my phone kept falling off the fence. I left that in because I thought it was funny, and it fixed the weirdly washed out video that was going on. So sorry about that. I'm not really sure what my phone was doing. But I just went and grabbed the saddle, and so starting out, just let him sniff it, held it, and just let him look at it. My phone fell off the fence again after this clip, actually between those clips, and lost a few minutes of basically just me lifting the saddle and swinging it up on him a few times, getting a good arm workout in. I did used to ride quite a few horses a day Western, and so I'm quite used to swinging up a Western saddle, but I've been spoiled with nice light English saddles lately. So if I look a little silly lifting up the saddle, sometimes I have to use a weird method of raising the saddle to help my wrists out a little bit, and so that might be why it looks a bit awkward. But I teach my horses to be so comfortable and trusting and accepting of the saddle that it doesn't matter any which way I swing it up on them, and I can do it on both sides. I always teach them to be saddled and everything on both sides, and so I just get them really confident about the saddle. And because I felt like he'd been standing in the same place a while, I just took him on a brief little walk to sort of reset the mind. The reason, and actually one of the reasons I like to use the Western saddle after the English saddle, is I find it a lot easier to swing an English saddle slower so as not to scare the horse, while also not like slamming it down on their back. And it's just a lot easier to balance all of that with the English saddle. Whereas with the Western saddle, in order to get a nice big swing up there, you kind of have to be a little quick and aggressive with it. Of course, not to slam it on their back or anything, but it's harder to do things slower and more deliberately with the Western saddle. And so I like to introduce that once they're really good with things being swung up and over them, appearing on the other side. And that's what the tarp is also really good for. I like to flap the stirrups on the saddle up and down and move the saddle and pat on it and make some noise before I have him move with it, because once he starts moving the same way with the English saddle, he's going to start realizing that all the parts move and make noise up there, and I want him to be as prepared for that as possible. So then I was about getting ready to cinch it up on him. I was just taking my time, making sure I had all my bases covered. Honestly, at this point, he was ready to just have it cinched up and go, but I just wanted to take it off and put it on a few more times to just be sure he was absolutely ready. The same way I'll do with the surcingle and the English saddle, I want him to be able to move with the girth loose on him so that he can feel it touch his leg and be prepared for the occasion that somebody's going to cinch him up and lets go of the girth and it touches his leg. I don't want him to spook. I do all my normal steps that I'll do with the first few cinchings. I'll tighten it, let it go, move him a little, tighten it again, let it go, and just make sure he's really thoroughly prepared. And naturally, the second I cinched it up, he looked like he needed to pee. And so I took the whole saddle off and I gave him a little break. But he's been sniffing and interacting with the saddle and flementing, which is really cute. Alright, and now that we've got all the tedious preparation out of the way, it's time to just cinch it up and watch him move. So at first it's just a bit of yielding the hindquarters and then having him walk a small circle and then change directions and do the same on the other side. I started letting him out on larger and larger circles and letting him trot, and he was really good. I was really happy with how he took to the Western saddle. After I got him to open up his trot a little more, it was time to ask him to canter, and I only asked for a few strides at a time because he's still learning how to balance and move in the round pen and building up that strength to be able to canter on a circle, because that's not natural for them. But his first few canter strides with the Western saddle were amazing. He did really, really good. That's about as good as it could have gone. I was really happy with how Odyssey did and how he took to the Western saddle. So thank y'all so much for watching, and in the next video I'm going to be putting my first sit on Odyssey, so that's definitely one you're going to want to watch, so stay tuned for that.